What would be your craziest story of like somebody that you've met, or a situation that you've had, or a place you've gone that you can talk about on here? That
I want to hear from both of you boys.
Yeah, because you guys must have some just absolute rocker stories.
I think you already know without even.
Go ahead.
I want you to tell the story about we call him, and this is not a reflective of his personality, but Rick Trash.
This is a long story though, but this was a pretty classic story. My wife actually dubbed the whole episode Rick Trash. So back in the day, my brother had passed away at a young age with cancer, and I had I decided to do a golf tournament for him. A big celebrity golf tournament. And I never asked favors from any of the players that I dealt with, but in this particular case, I pulled in all the markers. So we had a big golf tournament planned for Eagle's Nest, and even the owner of Eagle's Nest was a friend of the family. So I had everybody there from Bobby Hull to George Chiavallo to anybody that Daryl Sittler. And in those days, they would just do it. They didn't ask for fees, and for me, they would do it anyways because, like, they always ask me for favors. So I pulled in all the markers, and we had this tournament. And one of my friends, good friend of mine, who is very instrumental in helping me build my business, Brad Jansen. I don't know if you ever met him, but he was with CCM at the time. Good friend. He introduced me to Wayne Gretzky back in the day. Anyway, so we have this thing, and he said, I can bring Rick Nash, who had just signed with Columbus. Okay. So we go, he says, oh, by the way, Rick is going to come, and I'm going to bring him. And he's bought a home in Columbus, and he has all of his jerseys that he's worn since Pee-wee up, and he wants them all framed for his new big basement in his new home. And he said, happy to do it. You know, I wasn't going to do them all for free, but I was going to give him a real good deal. So he comes to the tournament, and he brings this bag of 2 or 3 garbage bags full of jerseys, and he throws them in and put them in the trunk of my car, and I'll take them back to the office the next day. The tournament goes, go back to the office, and when I get back the next day, I said to my foreman, Mono, I said, by the way, there's some jerseys in the garbage bags in the back of my car. Can you bring them, put them in the showroom, and I'll tell you how I want them all framed up. So I guess he was busy that day, or his mind wasn't in it, because he's the best guy I've ever worked with. Besides Mikey.
Wow. No, I agree. To be honest, I agree with him.
And so
it's a rough bod for you, bud.
The day goes by, and the next morning I wake up about 6 o'clock, and I'm thinking, nobody asked me about those jerseys I wanted framed. Those 3 garbage bags full of jerseys. I said, no, that can't be. And now I'm shitting myself. I hop in the car. I get to work. I'm waiting for everybody to come in. The first guy to come in is my general manager, and I said, was Mono. And I said, what happened to those garbage bags full of jerseys that I gave? He said, garbage bags full of. I thought they were garbage. I said, why would I bring garbage back in my trunk of my car from a golf tournament? I don't know. He panicked. I said, where did you put them? He says, I threw them in the trash bin in the back.
Shit.
I went, I just about lost my mind. I almost felt like throwing up. So I wait for my GM to come in, and I said, we got to find out. So we run to the back, we flip up this door, and I look in the bin, and it's empty. They had emptied it the night before, like once a week, but that was the night. So my GM starts phoning around to the garbage company. Where did they take? Oh, they take them to Woodbine and 7. So we get in the car, and we go up to, I take a bunch of guys up there because we're going to sift through that garbage and we're going to find it. And he said, oh, no. It just gets dumped here at night, and then it gets shuffled around to various dump sites. And now I got to wait for the management to get through a meeting at 10 o'clock in the morning to find out where they went to. And so when they finally get out of the meeting, I didn't want to tell him what happened, but I had to because he didn't care. And I said, we lost these things, and it's his whole life of every jersey he's ever worn, from his Team Canada, his draft jersey, his Pee-wee jersey, All-Star jersey, everything. He says, there's 3 sites we send it to. One's in Sudbury. That's done. He says, there's one in Detroit. No chance you get. The only one that you might be able to have some luck with is London, Ontario, which is where Rick played his junior. So they phone, and they said, the good thing about garbage companies, they know exactly what segment they're dumping in at that day. So they go over to that segment and they happen to find one jersey sitting on top of the pile. I said, stop, I'll pay whatever it takes. Stop dumping there. I get like 2 cars full of guys and we go down. I get them driving down and I got a brand new BMW at the time. I don't let the kids eat McDonald's in there. And now I got these guys going to a dump. Anyways, we go down, I stop at a Walmart. We get all the work boots and helmets that we might need to get on the site. And we get there. And our oldest son, Chris, he's working in the plant and he's bored stiff. He's, just in high school or something. So he's happy to be there, get out of the plant and help dig for these things. We get in, it's the hottest day of the year. It's
on record in Toronto.
July,
like
long weekend. Yeah. Friday of the long weekend. We get onto the site and there's this mountain of garbage that we have to climb up. Chris gets out of the car and he throws up. The smell is so bad. I got all these guys on this thing and we start digging through the garbage and we find one here and one there and one there. And after about 3 hours, we can't find any more. And there's a thunderstorm coming in. So they tell us, you got to get off the site. I go, we've got 11 jerseys. There's 2 or 3 garbage bags full of jerseys that I said, it can't be them all, but that's as best we can't find anymore. Right. So I get the guys all back in my brand new BMW and they just reek and they hadn't eaten all day. So now I got to stop and get McDonald's and the garbage smell in my car. And on the way back, I phoned a friend of mine, Bill Foley, and I said, he owned 3 Parker Cleaners. And I said, Bill, I need a favor. I got these jerseys. They got stains on them. I said, you got to get them out. So I go straight back to his place with the jerseys. And he says, Brian, they might have to do these by hand. I said, whatever it takes. I'll pay you whatever it takes. Anyways, I'm still distraught. Nothing else I can do. Next day, I have a golf game at 8 in the. I'm through the golf, through the 9. For some reason, I pick up my cell phone, which I never did on the golf course. And I see a message from Mono, my foreman, the guy that actually threw these in, who's now my partner. And so I phoned him and I said, what's up? And he says, well, I got good news. I said, where are you? He says, well, I'm back at the site in London. I said, what do you mean you're back at the site in London? He says, well, I got a bunch of guys and we went back to see if we could find some more. And we found 9 more jerseys.
Whoa.
9 or 10. I went, you did what? And he says, yeah, I arranged and we went back. He felt so bad. This is the kind of guy this guy is. And we got them all back. So I don't know how many were in the bag because Rick had gone, it was his 21st birthday. He went to Vegas to party. And I phoned my buddy Brad at the beginning and I told him the story. He says, you get those fucking jerseys right back right now. He says, I'll kill you. I just signed a stick deal with the guy and he's going to blow it. He was freaking out. So we get the jerseys back. So he brings he didn't tell Rick anything. So Rick comes into the office about a week later. I had all the jerseys framed up around the showroom. I don't know how many were missing. And I get them in my office. I tell him the story. Okay. And I said, Rick, this is a story. And I just see this blank look on his face. I don't know whether he's jumping across the table to hit me or he's just sitting there. And I said, I got some good news and some bad news. I said, the good news is all the framing is on me. And Mono this is before I even told him his story. And Mono is going to come to Columbus and he's going to hang all the pictures perfectly in your house. Oh, you don't need to do that. I said, you're probably going to think we do. So I said, let's go into the showroom after I told him the story and see what's missing. And he went around the showroom and he said, Brian, he says, there's one jersey missing. And it was one I was deciding whether to even frame or not. Oh. I don't know whether he was just being nice. He says, I can't believe you went to all that trouble to, this story is a long story. It could go on for another hour, all the details in between. Rick got all his jerseys framed up and all the stains were out. And there was even one jersey that was ripped, but I replaced it with the core elements of it and but that was one of the most horrendous You want a story? That was one of them. But
He's such a good dude too.
Oh,
Yeah.
I
great,
partied at his
great
cottage
guy.
with him up north. He's
classy,
a blast.
classy guy, and his parents. We got to know them.
The one element
That's
that
amazing.
you kind of skip past that I find telling in this story is prior to going out to the dump, we called our insurance company to see if we were covered for this, and they're like, no, like you could lose the business over this, because how do you put a price tag on
sure.
a star athlete, all of his personal collection? So that was a little bit to add some fuel to the fire. Yeah.
Oh, I was beside myself. I could have lost the company over that.